Richard Dyson disappeared in November 2019. His remains were discovered in a concrete-filled barrel on a trailer at a farm in Barnsley in July last year.
On the evening of the 17th of November 2019, a phone call was made from a patch of farmland outside Barnsley. It was the last time Richard Dyson's phone was ever used. 8 days later, his daughter Bethany reported him missing after he failed to arrive for their Sunday visit, something prosecutors would later tell a jury he did every week. For almost 6 years, nobody knew where he was. Then, in July 2025, police searching a trailer on farmland in Hoyland found a blue plastic barrel filled with concrete. Inside it were human remains. They were confirmed to be Richard Dyson's. This week, a jury at Sheffield Crown Court found the man who put him there guilty of murder. Richard Dyson was 55 years old, from Barnsley. For several years before his disappearance, he had been living in vehicles parked on land belonging to a local man, Christopher Wright. Wright, now 73, was a former butcher who had also spent years performing in a Spandau Ballet tribute act, which toured internationally and once appeared on the BBC's The One Show. The court heard that Wright and Dyson had known each other for years, but had fallen out over unconfirmed allegations that firearms had gone missing from Wright's property. A witness who gave evidence at the trial said Dyson had told him, sometime before he vanished, that he and Wright had had a scuffle, and that Wright was trying to murder him. Prosecutor Peter Molson KC told the jury that Wright shot and killed Richard Dyson on the evening of the 17th of November, 2019. A post-mortem examination carried out after Dyson's remains were eventually found confirmed he had died from shotgun wounds. Wright denied this throughout the trial. In his evidence, he said the last time he saw Dyson was as he was leaving for a nearby shop that evening, and that shortly before that, he had helped Dyson repair the starter motor on one of his vehicles. This channel follows cases like this one from charge through to sentencing. Wright and his co-accused are due back at Sheffield Crown Court on the 6th of August for sentencing. Subscribing means you'll see what the judge says that day. When Dyson didn't come home, South Yorkshire Police opened a missing person inquiry. It ran for years without answers. Investigators learned about the falling out over the alleged stolen firearms, but had no evidence connecting Wright to Dyson's disappearance. That changed in July 2025. A review of mobile phone data found that Wright had called the owner of nearby Alderthwaite Farm 3 days after Dyson was last known to be alive, a call that helped direct detectives to a trailer on the farm. Inside, officers found the concrete-filled barrel. A name badge reading Chris Wright was also recovered from the trailer. Records showed Wright had bought building materials from a local supplier in the period between Dyson's disappearance and his visit to the farm. Expert analysis found that the type of weapon and ammunition recovered from Wright's home matched those used to kill Dyson. Investigators also obtained covert recordings made after police first interviewed Wright and his friend Karl Schwalbe in 2021, 4 years before any arrest was made. In one recording, played to the jury, Schwalbe was heard telling Wright he wished he hadn't been called that night. Christopher Wright of Sheffield Road, Hoyland, was the landowner where Dyson had been living. His firearms license had been revoked in 2016. In his evidence, he described growing up on farmland and collecting firearms and other items, including musical instruments, at his home. Karl Schwalbe, 72, of Dyke Hill, Rotherham, was Wright's childhood friend. Prosecutors said phone records and CCTV showed Schwalbe assisting Wright in moving the trailer containing Dyson's remains. Wright was charged on the 6th of November, 2025, with the murder of Richard Dyson, preventing the lawful and decent burial of a body, and 27 firearms offences. He denied all charges and stood trial at Sheffield Crown Court, which opened on the 15th of June, 2026. On the 28th of July, 2026, after 5 weeks of evidence and just over 12.5 hours of deliberation, the jury returned unanimous guilty verdicts against Wright on every count: murder, conspiracy to pervert the course of justice, preventing a lawful burial, and multiple firearms offenses. Karl Schwalbe was found guilty of conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. Following the verdicts, senior Crown Prosecutor Jamie Barton said Wright had brutally murdered Richard Dyson and then enlisted his lifelong friend to help cover his tracks. Detective Chief Inspector Andy Knowles of South Yorkshire Police said Dyson's family had endured an unimaginable wait for answers, adding that no verdict could erase what they had been through. Mr. Justice Cotter, KC, told Wright that only one sentence was available to him for murder, life imprisonment. He said he would set the minimum term at a later hearing. He told Schwalbe that a custodial sentence was inevitable, but granted him bail on health grounds to allow him time to take advice before sentencing. What's established? Richard Dyson was murdered on the 17th of November 2019. His remains were concealed in a concrete-filled barrel for almost 6 years. A jury has found Christopher Wright guilty of his murder and Karl Schwalbe guilty of helping conceal the crime. What hasn't been decided, how long either man will serve. Wright faces a mandatory life sentence, but the minimum term, the number of years he must serve before he can be considered for parole, has not yet been set. Schwalbe's sentence for conspiracy to pervert the course of justice also hasn't been determined. Both men return to Sheffield Crown Court on the 6th of August, when Mr. Justice Cotter is expected to pass sentence. We'll cover that hearing when it happens.